We're golden. All right, let's talk.
All right.
So last time we went
All
over a
right.
little volume, right? How we see volume, what volume means. But I don't know if we went truly into how or what volume means. Um, we talked about it, we danced around it. I do believe we have to go into and truly define volume so people understand what it means, you know? So what do you guys think? What is volume to you?
To me, it's workload. The amount that you're doing could come down to your sets and reps, um, but just how much overall work are you doing, not necessarily taking intensity into account, just the specific numbers, how many sets, how many reps are you doing, how much tonnage do you have, um, just looking specifically at those numbers of how much you're doing in and outside of the gym. How does that all build on top of each other?
Agree. In and outside of the gym is huge. Um, you know, probably one of a good way to think about it is if you throw a ball 100 times, that's 100 throws.
Mhm.
That's going to at some point break you down unless you're doing things to help it, right? Because that is a high velocity. Um, Needs a ton of power and a ton of strength to be able to stabilize that. So the amount of reps times the amount of sets gives us our volume. But what does all that mean?
You'll have
Well, it's gonna
specific, go ahead, Zach.
it's gonna help us determine like what our training goal is for that week or for like the individual, what we're really trying to focus on. So,
So how does that do?
um, how does that what?
How does that do that? How does the volume do that?
Well, if you're putting more volume, on a specific like muscle group, it's gonna take longer to recover. So we have to make sure that depending on what the athlete's schedule is for that week, is the volume we're doing too much and going to make them more fatigued for all their activities? Or, are they just in a pure like training week where we can add more volume and we know they have the time to recover from that?
Is there a number that helps us understand what's going on in volume, especially when we're trying to use the volume as a indicator of how much accessory work to do? Does that make sense? You guys know?
Yeah. I mean, our target is normally like 20 sets per muscle group per week.
Mhm. But if we have somebody that's squatting 100 pounds and they're doing 24 reps, that's 2,400 rep pounds, right? So that's a volume.
Hmm.
What's that mean?
Like, how do we get to that number?
No. We already know reps times sets, right? What does it mean that 2,400? How is that going to benefit the athlete knowing their volume? If we have
I mean,
somebody that
mainly
wants to
tell.
improve their squat,
Mhm.
we're going to squat them. But then there's always a limiting factor, right? Either the low back can't handle it, the upper body, the torso. So the volume, in essence, can be utilized as a way to define how much accessory work you need to be able to lift that weight the amount of times. So in other words, volume, let's just say, again, like in Austin, we're upwards of around, let's just say 5 to 5,400 rep pounds. So in other words, 285 times 38 reps, right? That's somewhere around there. I can't tell you exactly what the number is, right? For him to be able to handle that volume, he needs to at least be able to handle 2 times that volume in the accessories. So in other words, if it's 5,000 rep pounds, just to make life easier, if it's a squat we're trying to improve and we're trying to improve all the musculature around it, we are going to go 2 times that body weight to start. I mean, 2 times the volume to get them up and stronger to be able to handle the next weight, right? So in other words, if we go and we say, all right, I just did 5,000 rep pounds of a squat. I know that if I'm going to go to the reverse hyper, and then I know I'm going to do, let's just say, another posterior chain, a deadlift pull through, or if I'm going to say, all right, I'm doing abs, or I'm doing, again, other things that control that, whether it's a plank, whether it's other things, I now have a goal to get to, which would be 10,000 rep pounds. So that could be distributed through separate accessories, 10,000 rep pounds of work. That, as you start getting into heavier weights and as we start getting into bigger individuals, faster individuals, that becomes 3 and 4 times the amount of volume to be able to handle the weight that they're doing. That's where.
But that's not necessarily going to come in more sets because they'll be able to do more weight in the accessory lift.
Maybe. I mean, if we're going to, the amount of sets, let's just say 5,000 rep pounds. If I'm going to do let's just say a reverse hyper and a deadlift pull through to get to 10,000 pounds, you're putting 200 pounds on the reverse hyper and you're doing that 20 times. That's 3,000 rep pounds. I still need 2,000 more rep pounds. Does that make sense? So then I'd be doing a reverse hyper, or I'd be doing a deadlift pull through to also help bring up that volume to be able to handle the lift, the main lift you're trying to get to. Yeah. I'm going to mute for a second. You guys want to talk?
Yeah, sure.
Say you can keep going with that too, as well as like looking at, say, your plyometrics. You have 3x6, whatever exercise you're doing. Again, there's other things you still have to account for too, as far as what are they doing in practices, what are they doing in games, does that add on to that volume that you're doing? How does that bring everything up? How does that bring it together? How do you account for it?
Yeah. And I'd say like where we find the struggle with it is if someone's only coming 1 or 2 times a week, it's tough to hit that desired 20 sets per muscle group per week. So we might have to break that up into 2 to 4 weeks, to make sure we're trying to like hit everything and that we're going for, that we saw through like assessment and like their vol numbers. And obviously some things might be weaker than others, or not weaker, but lacking. So we need to like build that more and maybe do that every week compared to some stuff. If we're hitting it 40 times a month, 20 times a month, and that's okay.
20 times.
Yeah.
What we were saying, like with everyone, like people that come here, they're like, including like plyometrics and running, like we have to account for what they're doing outside of here, but also if they're only coming here once or twice a week.
Why do you have to do that?
Because it still goes into their total volume.
What's that?
Still accounts for their total volume, like on that individual like body.
That's an interesting point. Very interesting point. I don't think a lot of people understand that.
So, I mean, I guess if we're looking at a training program or training guidelines, it'll say plyometrics. This is supposed to be the specific volume that you train. Specifically these certain movements, 18 reps, however much it should be throughout a training session. Does that all get thrown out the window if they had a basketball game the night before and are constantly jumping for rebounds all game? It's part of the volume. It's still work that the body does. They might do 40 in a game. They might do 15 in a game. Most people are not counting that.
Not even counting the warm up.
Right, exactly.
Not counting the amount of times they're jumping, the amount of times they're sprinting. They just, oh yeah, I play a game.
Right, exactly.
So that's the hard part, is now you had something planned, you had volume, you did the math, crazy, you got the math, right? And then I had a game last night. So that becomes, I understand, that becomes the hardest part of what we do and that athlete monitoring, that it sometimes is you are set up and you're ready to go, whether it's a week's worth of workouts, and then all of a sudden I have X, Y, and Z, and you got to change everything because you are going to burn them out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that literally happened to me this morning where like I had 400s planned, but yesterday on like the athlete's off day, they decided to do 400s, and then they also switched summer league teams. So now they have a game today. So we had pretty much just, all right, we'll save the workout and come up with something new on the spot.
Quickly.
But it happens. But also, even if they didn't have a game and they told me that they ran, 400s and 200 intervals yesterday, I probably would have changed my approach and got rid of the 400s to a different form. Either depending on how they were feeling and what their numbers are, I could have switched to like the bike if I still wanted to get like that anaerobic work, or I could have just switched it to something aerobically or just like a short sprint because I didn't hit that yesterday.
Yeah.
But like that's where my mind would have went, or it did go.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we spend more time making the changes than we do making the workout in general.
True story.
Half the work on the program is done while they're standing right next to us asking what another exercise is.
Because you have to make that change. If you don't, yeah, go ahead and do it. You just mess them up for maybe 2 days just because they are sore, now they're stiff, and then you could set them up for an injury. That's fucked up. I mean, that sucks. If we don't think ahead, you are setting that athlete up for an injury. And that's something these coaches, physical therapists, trainers, personal trainers, athletic trainers, they don't understand the accumulation effect and how it does, truly break you down over time. But that's the hard part, is getting this information to the everyday athlete so they can understand what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, we almost had to find a workaround for everything because high school and down, their coaches just don't communicate with each other. They don't communicate with us. It's not like a college program where the strength coach and the dietitian and the head coach are all talking and designing their plan around what the other is doing.
But you have a professional doing it and not a dad or not, somebody, I work out. Yeah, I've been to the gym. And it's like, okay, but you may know how to push, may know how to pull, bench press and squat. But if you're telling them to squat heavy and you're going to tell them to be on their heels, and then all of a sudden, hey, get on your toes. Did that squat do its job? That's the other question that we have. And then did you just waste all that volume, all that time by putting them on the heels just to chase a number for a 1 rep max, or chase a number on a bar, or C3 blues? Chasing the number is not cool, man. Not for an athlete. If you are I'm sorry, I'm not calling bodybuilders not athletes. I'm not calling powerlifters not athletes. But what I'm saying is that when you're on a field with speed involved, very different.
Yeah. It's almost like the training part of it has to be secondary because your sport still has to take priority and you need to be able to perform.
True story. Sure. So it is interesting how the information of not knowing what is too much and what is not enough, and to simply, the ignorance of just the progressive overload, and just to use 1 rep max and then continually just do the same exercises over and over, just week in, week out. It's pretty pathetic. I'm sorry. I find that pathetic, but I'm old and I can say that.
Yeah.
I mean, thought. That's all it takes. Thought and actually caring about your athlete instead of saying, yeah, those exercises. Those are good for you.
Yeah.
3 sets of, go 10. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even think that's slightly different in like the college setting where you have control of every aspect of their upcoming 3 months.
Yeah.
It's completely different when you have an athlete that goes and runs on their own. You don't know how hard they're going. You don't know how much they're doing. They want to go to the gym with their friends on their own as well. They're doing another 2 days of that. You have no clue what they're doing. Are they doing enough? Are they doing too much? Are they doing it right?
Are they doing it right? That's the biggest one. And I know that's, I'm going to say just from patients the most has been like, all right, what do I do when I'm in the gym? Because I have no clue what to do,
Mm-hmm.
how many things to do, how many exercises per body part, how many X, how
Mm-hmm.
many Y. And that's where we come up with the volume to be able to, hey, you're going to be going at 45 pounds on your back. You're going to be going 6x5. And then you also have a shoulder press standing on one leg. And then you got a bent over row. All those are 3x8, just arbitrary. And that, if you don't know how to manipulate that, especially in season and out of season, and telling people, yeah, just lift heavy, yeah, you're going to get strong. Well, we don't really want an athlete strong. We want them powerful, fast, snappy. Strong is just a component, and it's just one component, just strong. There's many other things involved in sport.
And so what?
It's almost like just a base.
What's that?
Well, so like still like explaining what the volume is, like what would be considered like low volume or like volume where you'd start a beginner compared to like an Austin where like Olympic volume.
Where do you start them?
Yeah, like a beginner athlete. Like what would be a goal? Like amount of sets per body part per week.
So again, 20 sets per week. If we're talking jumps, we're trying to hit 40 to 45 jumps per week. But for the most part, it's 20 sets of gym work, or, whether that's a rehab setting or that is a strength and conditioning setting or a sport performance setting. 20 sets is basically maintenance and with a little build. As you get higher and higher up to about 36 to 38 to 40 sets, that's where you get some mass and you get a lot of power. But again, that is, if you think of the volume that takes, it's almost like a Smolov program, the amount of squatting. But that, after a while, if you want to get that size, if you need the size or if you need the density, you're going to increase that 20 sets to closer to 30 to get the density. And then just some of the size, we'll get a little bit more into that 36 and 38 sets. It's a lot. But again, you're not dealing with the average everyday person going to the gym. If we're dealing with the average everyday person going to the gym, that's a little different, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we just have a lot more to take into account.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, that's where the athlete monitoring, the VDT, the force plates, that's where all that comes in because it takes a lot of that guesswork out of it for us.
And the movement analysis.
Yes.
Seeing how they move. That's another way.
Right. Yeah. Are they moving well to even start thinking about volume in the first place? Or are we just trying to get them moving better?
Just trying to get them moving better, right? And that's huge.
Yeah. And then once they do that, we can see, all right, we have an idea of what direction your numbers might go if you had 6 games over the weekend in a tournament compared to you trained Friday and now you're back in on Monday and all you did was rest and you're ready to go.
You're ready to go.
Like jumps on the force plate will kind of give us an idea of what that looked like beyond you just telling us, yeah, I'm sore or I'm not sore. I'm ready to go. Yeah. Like we can actually put numbers to it. We can look at their VBT numbers as they're squatting. Yeah, you're not coming close to what we know your numbers typically are, but we don't have to change anything. That's going to regulate it. You're going to go up to what you can handle at the speed that we gave you.
Yeah. And how do you think speed, because again, people are not understanding what speed are. Explain speed. I'm going to go get one of the things and show them what it does. So explain velocity.
Yeah. So again, I think we talked about it a little bit. Velocity is just what the speed you're moving at. What speed are you moving the bar at? Are you moving 0.5? Are you moving 0.7? Are you moving 0.9? All of that, we can give it to you to set a specific goal of what adaptation we want. And we don't have to give you a weight to chase. So there's no failure aspect of it. You can handle what you can handle that day. And we are going to be working on what it is. But we will have an idea of, okay, I know at 0.9 you can do 225. Oh, you're only getting to 210 today and you're just barely hitting that speed. All right, we know you're fatigued, but we don't really have to switch anything because you're still hitting your speeds. It's just at a lower weight today.
The thing is that you would be pushed harder if you couldn't get that weight that was prescribed for you, saying, hey, you got 8 reps. at 225, it doesn't matter how you feel, you still got to do it because that's progressive overload, right? It's just continual. You're 5 pounds a week or something like that. That has its own.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously now we use over, because it's just a lot easier for us. As you can see on here, we use like the average speed, and it just, as you go, it gives us a speed and then releases. You can add eccentric. Wow. You see, and all that does is just give us information on how fast you're moving. And as Darnell, said before, we could see that you are fatigued. Number one, if that was in the force plates, but also through the velocity, if you can't reach that number, that means you're fatigued. But that also may mean that it's just too heavy. And that's one thing that progressive overload does not take into account. No, just throw it on there. You'll lift it. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just ignorant. It's truly ignorance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And just the a basic understanding of what velocity is like displacement over time. So how far you can go from like A to B and how quickly you can do it. And that like any sport, how quickly can you go from one place to the next?
Can you repeat it? Do you have a muscular endurance to be able to repeat that at that high speed or at that higher level?
Because sports not asking you how much weight can you lift. It's can you go from this end of the track to the next, or
really good
from sideline to sideline.
Yeah, who cares how much it doesn't matter. I mean, that's great. Don't get me wrong. The ego goes up when you're a 400 or 500 pound squatter. I have yet to see that, except for like when you're talking the freaks in the NFL or not freaks, just mutants. They're just different than most of us. The weight. Yeah.
The only number that people understand.
What's that?
The only number that some people understand.
Yeah, they only know
have been
how much you
taught to
squat, how much you bench, how much yes. And it's a 1 rep max, which I don't know, man. Sport is I've never done anything once, except for powerlifting.
I've lifted.
I did it 3 times.
Yeah. But I mean I've seen guys like in like videos of NFL like linemen lifting, and they'll do like a snatch high pull at over 2 meters a second at 225, and I can't even snatch 225. So like they're moving the weight that differently
because they can. I mean, if they weren't, if they were below, your strength coach is like, sorry, man, that's too heavy for you. I know your ego says you could do it, but that speed right there shows us you can't. And that can save a lot of people as far as injury, overtraining, under-recovered, so many things because you're not crushing the system every time laying on the ground. Although sometimes that feels good, laying on the ground exhausted. Not every time, because again, that accumulates over time. That volume gets to you.
Yeah. And like just their experience, like lifting, like with the speed and whatnot, it is a nice feeling, like knowing that you're not just going to have to go throw on like 315 just to like get it done, but you're not going to leave more tired or sore than you already are. Like, you're training still with the right purpose, but you're not going to be like dreading doing the number on the sheet.
No, because it's not going to destroy you. I remember training for it was a 20 rep max back squat. I just going in mentally. I think it was a 12-week or a 14-week program. I dreaded it toward the end. You're putting 275 on the bar for 20 reps. God, man, that's tired. I made the stupid mistake of trying to put a belt on. God, I almost passed out. I couldn't breathe. But it's just, you prepare. And, sometimes the weight just gets too much and it just psychologically gets you broken.
Yeah. And it just beats you down. Numbers start dropping over time instead of going in the right direction. But that number says it's got to go up every week, so you got to push it.
Yeah. The other thing is people don't understand that in our realm, we don't have a lot of time. We don't get months. Like we have a professional basketball player that has 2 months. We have to improve his endurance, increase his mobility, increase his power, get his jump height back, all within 2 months. I mean, people don't get that. And they think, they have plenty of time. They got this, that. Yeah, they put in a ton of work to be able to get to the like the level that they're at. I mean,
Right.
they're
Just be
just
insanely efficient with every part of it.
yes, they have to be. You have to choose the right things. Even the same thing with Austin and an Olympic athlete. You have to choose the right exercises. You can't throw an exercise out there, but yeah, go ahead. Every exercise means something because you only have, what do we, Austin and I have 18 times that we see each other before he leaves again, before the first year of his quad. So 18 times to be able to hit everything we need to, that is tough. If you get 4 exercises per workout, you're getting 32, 72 exercises. Not a lot of way to build a volume, man. Not a lot of way to build that power, that explosion. So we were changing over to a little bit different of a process.
Well, so I guess like in that of like timing, like how are you planning to like fit the volume in that you need?
We are not going lower than 0.7 or 0.65, where Austin and I are talking about the speeds. But we're not going lower than 0.65 or 0.7. We will most likely dance around 0.88 to 1.1, just for the explosion, so his body can be able to handle the amount of force that they're putting on it or that I'm putting on it. If we go and just do, let's just say we do a side plank with no movement, it just wasted 20 minutes and then 3 exercises because that has nothing to do with what he's doing. So it doesn't make sense just to throw exercises out there, just kind of like what we see in some of these programs that are online and some of these coaches that are just, everybody does the same program. You can't, not when you don't have a lot of time. So it's, if people would understand that if you knew the right exercises, you knew how many times to do it, you knew what speed or what tempo to work at, the gym would be a lot better of a place. But it's as soon as you walk in, people expect you to know what to do, and you should know how much effort, how long you should be doing it. And that's the hard part, is that we've got to get that out there, that education is huge. A library of exercises is huge. So
I think even pinpointing what the actual goal is, for that specific athlete. So like we've been looking at the DSI, like the dynamic strength index.
Yep.
Are they strong? Do they need to perform, do they need to focus on building their strength more? Do they need to focus on expressing their strength more? Like if we know that going in, we can pinpoint everything instead of ever really having to guess about it, which again makes us more efficient because of the numbers that we've been able to look at. See, we don't have to waste our time focused on strength if they have the strength, but they don't express it well, or the other way around. We don't have to waste those sets and reps on biometrics if they, perform that part of it fantastic, but they just don't have the strength base to build it. Like we can work on exactly what needs to be improved for them to get everything over.
Yeah, get more snappy, get a little quicker, getting quicker off the ground, decreasing what's called the pop, your pop, which is, the ability when you come down, and I'm going to just to make it easy, the squat, as you come down to the bottom, there's a point where you come to stop and then start back up. That is huge that's what I use a lot, is the amount of time, how long it takes you to create the force to be able to go up. The longer it takes you at that bottom to explode out, the less powerful you are, the slower you will be. And that's one thing that we know we can work on and improve, just to be able to get them up to par for what they need for their sport. So yeah, man, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Just wish more people knew.
Yeah.
I know we have we have 7 minutes left. So Zach, you had asked before how we would do it if it was just a normal everyday person, right? Who didn't have the aspirations or the goals to play, or that is it playing semi-pro or is playing pro. The everyday athlete would be around, you could say anywhere between 15 to 21 sets to build. It'll be around 12 to 15 to maintain. And then after that, it'd be a little bit more of a build. because they don't have that extra stuff that they have that like an athlete would do. So in other words, you don't have like a run or a sprint or a hard effort or tempo work on a run, as well as then have a lift, as well as then have mobility. That's just too much volume for most people. So it would be a lift. Then you may have a little run or a bike or something, but you're not crushing, elite times. You're not trying to explode every time and work on it taking off and working on change of direction. So that also takes up a lot of time, and that creates an increase in the volume that you need because of the effort that's involved and the speeds that are involved, and that creates momentum, and sometimes the body can't handle momentum. For the most part, the everyday athlete or the weekend warrior doesn't have that to worry about as much. So you can go down in some of your sets and reps to be able to handle a lesser volume. So if somebody was squatting and wanted to increase, I would say 2 times the volume for the everyday athlete. For the pro athlete, we're talking 3 to 4 times, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And then that would even carry over into their accessories. So, that helps them build a lot more, a lot faster. And again, they're not wasting time by doing a seated bicep curl when they could have did a kneeling bicep curl and also hit mid back and lower back as well as the biceps and the upper neck. It's just if people can just expand a little bit and understand, but that's why they come to us. So,
Yeah.
I mean, building a library of exercises is probably the hardest thing to do. And especially when you don't do it on a daily basis, the everyday athlete, the everyday person is going to look on Instagram and Facebook and be like, I can do that. But they don't understand what it took for that person to be able to get to that level, right? You see somebody trying to do a flagpole, right? You get like, come on, man. Do you understand what that took? Or people are trying to do ring dips. Do you understand what it took to get to the ring dip? So,
not start there.
You can't start there, right? And we wouldn't start our rehabs there. So if people understand that it takes a long time for people to get to what they're seeing on social media, it may help a little bit too. Because that is, again, these people are trying to become a little bit more known. So they're going to come up with some weird stuff. And so it works. Don't get me wrong. It's different. And it doesn't always have to be a weight moved for volume to be counted, because your body weighs something, so that could also be put into it. But for ease, when we're in a gym and when we're in our realm, it's just easier to see what the weight is on the bar or the dumbbell and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one thing that we do here, right? I mean, we have one-on-one training. We have, coaching where we have 3 athletes per 1 coach. We also program, meaning we make the workouts for you. That also comes in a app that has a video of what the exercise looks like, the reps, the sets, the speed, whatever speed we wanted you to use. And then we are also right here to be able to inform you and correct you if your form is incorrect or if it just needs improving. So that is something that a gym doesn't have. That is something that a big class doesn't have. So, if you ever want to learn to lift, want to learn to train, or want to learn why your back hurts when you're deadlifting, or why your knee hurts when you're squatting, or why your shoulder hurts when you're bench pressing, that's why we're here. We have 2 of the most successful and probably awesome coaches that are out there. They know their stuff more than you would even think. So you're not helping yourself just by going to the gym or buying a program online that has no base behind it. It really helps to have an understanding and an idea of how to move, how to lift, and what the things like you said, what goals to do. So that's what Fusion does in a nutshell as far as strength and conditioning, sport performance. What else can you guys add to that? We got about 3 minutes left.
I mean, the biggest thing is like, why are we doing it? If you go somewhere else, find something online, you're getting a program that's made for everyone. You have a different history than most people. It's not going to really fit what exactly you need, where you're at. You might have completely different weaknesses than somebody else, and just doing that lift isn't going to make you stronger in a resilient way. Like, you have to do the things to support it to really get you there safely. We can see where those weaknesses are. We can see what part of the lift you may be struggling with. And those are the things that we can work to improve by doing different things to build up the whole system, not just keep doing this over and beating it into the ground till it goes up.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah, and I'd say, like just our coaching style too. Like we're adaptable to like what your goals are, like your needs. We're not here to like yell and scream at you and hype you up. Like, you know, it's tough. It's not like we're training 30 people at a time. Like it's kind of one on one, one on two. No one wants to be yelled at for 2 hours. I mean, we could do that if you wanted, but it gets old for us too after a while.
Yeah.
But we're really just here to like,
because you're not in the right spot. Like, oh, what is that? I mean, come on, educate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here to just really make your life easier. And, we've not only like have helped, make other people like programs like this with this style of training, but we train it ourselves. So, we're not just there like preaching to nobody. Like we've done it, we've practiced it.
Didn't somebody just
So,
put a post out on that? Was it Jackie or Erica? Was it? I forget who it was, to show that we were.
yeah, Jackie was, yeah.
Oh,
we're
Jackie did,
people
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
Oh, we got less than a minute, so we got to sign
right.
off, guys.
All right.
All right.
See ya.
Cheers, everybody. Happy training.
See ya.